Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into something pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at some personal diary entries about the monsoon season in the hills.
Okay.
And, kind of looking at the author's observations of nature, their personal reflections, even a few encounters with some wildlife. So
like a real, firsthand account of living through a monsoon season.
exactly. Yeah, just kind of that day-to-day experience and how it feels to really live through it.
Like not just the scientific or meteorological events, but really that personal lived experience of it.
Yeah, and right away you get that sense of anticipation for the monsoon.
Yeah.
Even as early as June, there's one entry that describes that first day of mist just blanketing the hills in silence.
Oh, wow.
And it says that it even hushes the birds.
Oh, that's so interesting. I love that detail about the birds going quiet. It's like nature itself is holding its breath, waiting for the downpour. Yeah.
And then there's this observation about the first cobra lily blooming. And it's kind of like, a sure sign that the monsoon is truly here.
Yeah, yeah.
And the author even talks about how the mist creates this sense of privacy, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about the diary format itself, just that idea of a personal diary, it really does give you that sense of peering, into someone's private world.
Right.
Their thoughts, their observations, and then that's amplified even more when you have that natural phenomenon of the mist kind of shrouding everything.
Absolutely. And this secluded world that's being described.
Yeah.
It's not without its surprises.
Oh.
Along with the rain come some unexpected guests like leopards.
Oh, wow.
There's this, kind of dramatic story about a leopard snatching a dog.
Oh, geez.
And then almost attacking a cow.
Wow. That is a reminder that, the beauty of nature sometimes comes with an element of danger.
Absolutely.
And living so close to nature, to the wild, really forces you to confront that, that line between humans and animals.
Yeah, and speaking of confronting nature, let's not forget the leeches.
Oh, yeah.
The author talks about thousands of them, and it's almost like they're unfazed by it.
Really?
Yeah, like it's just part of the experience.
Wow.
Just part of living through the monsoon.
It makes you think about, our own tolerance for the
kind of
less glamorous aspects of nature. Do we see those things as annoyances or as part of a larger system that we belong to?
Yeah, I'm definitely in the avoid camp when it comes to leeches.
Yeah.
But moving on to August, the entries really start to capture the relentlessness of the rain.
Yeah.
And there's this one line that just really struck me. It says, "It is a good sound to read by the rain outside the quiet within."
Oh, wow.
And it just,
I love that. I know. That is the perfect description of that monsoon feeling, that cozy introspection, almost meditative. I can almost hear that, the rain drumming on the roof.
Yes.
The quiet stillness inside.
And then when the rain finally stops, there's this explosion of sensory details.
Oh.
The author describes the sound of chopping wood cowbells clanging, water dripping, and then out of nowhere, this pure song of a whistling thrush.
That's beautiful.
I know.
That contrast of the sounds of human life and then the natural soundscape.
It's just, rich sonic landscape.
Absolutely. Really highlights how human life is kind of interwoven with the natural world.
And as the monsoon progresses, we see that the landscape itself undergoes this dramatic transformation.
Yeah.
The hillsides, they become lush, and there are all these late monsoon flowers that are blooming. And even the animals start behaving differently.
Yeah.
Snakes and rodents are seeking shelter in houses.
Wow.
And there's this really funny anecdote about a shrew that gets into the author's house and is just causing chaos.
Oh, that's funny. I love how the author kind of brings in their own personal reflection and even a little bit of folklore into that story.
Yes.
The children are amused by this shrew running around, but the grandmother is warning them.
Right.
Don't kill it.
Yeah.
Schoenschenders are lucky they bring money.
And then, what do you know, shortly after that,
Really?
the author receives a check in the mail.
Oh, wow.
So
that's amazing.
I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but it's a funny little...
It speaks to that, power of storytelling, bringing observation and belief together, even a little bit of superstition with science and, it really captures your imagination.
So we've seen the monsoon arrive. It's drenched the hills. It's transformed the landscape.
Right.
But what happens when the rain starts to subside? So let's move on to the entries from October and January and see what happens next.
Sounds good. Yeah, as we get into October and January, you really start to notice a shift in the tone of the entries.
Yeah.
You know, those vibrant greens of the monsoon, they fade away into the grays and browns of winter, and a kind of a sense of quiet reflection takes over.
It's like the author's own mood is mirroring the rhythms of nature.
Right.
You know, becoming more subdued as the landscape around them is becoming more stark and bare.
Yeah, there's this one entry that describes the winter rain and those menacing gray trees. And you really feel that sense of loneliness there.
Yeah, it's palpable.
Yeah.
It's interesting how that same rain that brought so much life and abundance during the monsoon now evokes this feeling of isolation.
Totally.
And almost a bit of melancholy.
It really speaks to that duality of nature, you know, that capacity for both beauty and harshness.
Yeah, and even in that moment of isolation, the author hints at that cyclical nature of time.
Right.
The winter rain might be cold and unforgiving.
Yeah.
But it also kind of foreshadows the eventual return of spring.
It's such a powerful reminder that even in the darkest depths of winter, you know, there's this underlying awareness that things will change. You know, renewal is always on the horizon. It's almost a reminder for us too, you know, that we can weather the storms of life and come out stronger on the other side.
There's this really striking entry about a hailstorm in late March.
Oh, wow.
And then right after that, the appearance of a rainbow.
Oh, wow.
It feels almost symbolic, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
This violence of the storm giving way to the promise of spring.
Yeah, it's such a classic representation of that cycle of destruction and renewal that's always at play in nature.
Yeah.
And just like that rainbow follows the storm, you know, we can find hope and beauty even after those challenging times.
So we've journeyed through the arrival of the monsoon, the transformation of the landscape, the shift from that vibrant energy to this quiet introspection.
Yeah.
It's incredible how these entries capture not just those external changes in nature, but also the internal shifts in the author's perspective.
It really is a testament to the power of observation, you know, and how when we tune into those rhythms of nature, we can actually deepen our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world.
It's been so fascinating, you know, exploring these entries with you. We've talked about the beauty and the challenges of the monsoon season, that transformation of the landscape, the power of just observation.
Absolutely.
But before we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah?
I'd love to hear what resonated with you personally.
Oh, that's a great question.
Was there a particular observation or reflection that really stood out to you?
You know, for me, it was that description of the mist.
Yeah.
Descending on the hills and silencing the birdsong.
Yep.
It's just, it speaks to that transformative power of nature, you know, and the importance of just stillness and quiet reflection.
Yeah.
You know, I think in our busy lives, we forget
Yes.
how valuable it is to just simply observe and be present in the moment.
That's beautiful. I can see why that resonated with you.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was the way that the author blended those personal anecdotes.
Right.
Like that story about the shrew and the unexpected check with their observations of nature.
Right.
It just added a little bit of whimsy and personality to the entries. And it reminded me that our experiences of the world are always shaped by our own unique perspectives and beliefs.
I agree. That blend of observation and personal reflection is really what makes these entries so engaging.
Yes.
It's a reminder that we're not just passive observers of nature. You know, we're active participants in this constantly evolving story.
Speaking of our own stories, I wonder what subtle shifts in your surroundings mark the passage of time for you. You know, what small changes signal the changing seasons in your own life?
Oh, that's a great question to think about. You know, for some people, it might be the way the light changes throughout the year. You know, those long shadows in winter and then the warm glow in summer.
Yeah. Or maybe it's that smell of the air after a fresh rain, you know?
Oh, yeah.
The earthy scent.
Right.
It just feels so different depending on what time of year it is.
It does. Yeah. Or maybe it's the sound of certain birds, you know, returning each spring.
Yeah.
Almost like a familiar melody that marks the end of winter.
Whatever it may be, I really encourage you to pay attention to those subtle shifts.
Yeah.
Observe them closely and think about what they might reveal about the natural world and your own connection to it.
Sometimes those small, seemingly insignificant details,
Right.
they're the ones that offer the most profound insights.
Yeah, they remind us that we're not separate from nature. We're really intertwined with its rhythms and cycles.
Hey, as we've seen through these diary entries, paying attention to the world around us can really lead to a deeper understanding of ourselves.
Yeah.
For the author, those observations of the changing seasons, they mirrored their own, internal shifts, their emotional landscape.
Right. It was like nature was a mirror reflecting back their own experiences.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that, nature can be a powerful mirror for all of us.
Yeah.
Reflecting our joys, our sorrows, our periods of growth and introspection.
It's been such a fascinating journey exploring these diary entries with you.
I agree.
We've talked about the beauty and the challenges of the monsoon season.
Yeah.
That incredible transformation of the landscape and that power of observation.
Absolutely.
And I think we've seen how connecting with nature can really enrich our lives.
It can.
It can deepen our understanding of the world. And it can even offer a sense of solace and connection in a world that often feels very chaotic and disconnected.
I think that's a really important point.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I hope you'll take with you a renewed sense of wonder for the natural world and a desire to really explore those subtle shifts and changes that are happening all around you.
Because, in those small, often overlooked details, there's a whole world of beauty and meaning and connection just waiting to be discovered.
So until next time, keep observing, keep questioning, and keep exploring the wonders of the world, both within you and around you.
Well said.